Hi, this is Ben from Fixitgearware Security, and today we're here with another episode of the Cybersecurity Q A Series. Today's episode marks the third since we started this series, and we're very excited to bring to you more interesting and powerful questions. The choice of questions today spans across a series of topics, right from tools to risk management, down to open source intelligence with a programming question. So without wasting much of your time, let's take a deep dive straight to the agenda of today. The first question on our list is, what tool is best for testing APIs? Option A, we have the Wireshark. Option B, we have the Nmap. Option C, we have the Postman. Option D, we have the GHydra. And option E, we have the A, B, and C. And the option F, none of the above. So before we are able to answer these questions, let's have the definitions of the options given. First, Wireshark is a network scanning tool and packet analyzer built by Wireshark Foundation. Next is the Postman. It is a tool used for testing application programming interface, also known as API, with a simple GUI, known as graphical user interface. Option C, we have the Nmap, is a network scanning and host discovering tool created by Gordon Leon. Option D, we have the GHydra, which is a free and open source malware reverse engineering tool developed by NSA, which is the National Security Agency. So after having these definitions, the correct answer for this question is C, Postman. So the right tool for testing an API is the Postman application. Next, let's move on to question number 2. You are a cybersecurity expert that works for Metro Mass Bank. You were able to identify and triage the risk facing the bank and its likelihood to cause damage. What term describes the situation carried out by you if there is a likelihood that the organization resources would be impacted? A, threat. B, threat vector. C, risk. D, risk assessment. E, all of the above. F, none of the above. So to be able to answer this question, let's move again to define the various options given. Threat is an external influence that is capable of jeopardizing the information and security of your infrastructure. Threat vector are mechanisms such as tools and payloads that the threat actor used in exploiting your infrastructure. Risk is the presence of a vulnerability and the corresponding threat that is capable of exploiting the vulnerability of your system or network. Risk assessment, on the other hand, is the assessing and triaging of risk facing an organization, its impact and likelihood of occurrence. So having defined all the various options given, the correct answer to this question is option D, risk assessments. As the question rightfully stated, identify and triage the risk facing the bank and its likelihood to cause damage. What term describes the situation carried out by you? So of course, you are trying to assess the risk of the bank, which is considered to be what? Risk assessment. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. You have finally analyzed the risk of Metro Mass Bank. By what criteria would you rank the risk discovered during your assessment? Option A, likelihood of occurrence. Option B, threat vector. Option C, vulnerability. Option D, impact. Option E, A and D. Option F, none of the above. So let's define the various terms that was given. Likelihood of occurrence, the probability that certain event might occur. Threat vector are mechanisms such as tools and payloads that the threat actor used in exploiting your infrastructure. Vulnerability is the flaw that exists in your system or network that can be exploited by a threat to undermine the CIA of cybersecurity, which is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Impact, damage to be expected or that can be done on the system in the event of the risk occurring. Now, the question says you have analyzed the risk of Metro Mass Bank. By what criteria would you rank the risk discovered during your assessment? In assessing the risk of an organization, 2 factors are put into consideration. 1, the likelihood of occurrence, and 2, the impact, which is the damage to be expected in the likelihood of that event to occur. So the correct answer to this question is option E, A and D. Likelihood of occurrence and impact. Moving on to the next question. After ranking the risk discovered in Metro Bank, You then proceed to estimate monetary value of the various facilities of the bank. What criteria best describes the asset evaluation? A. Asset value. B. Original cost. C. Depreciating cost. D. Replacement cost. E. All of the above. F. None of the above. Defining the terms, asset value is determining the monetary value of the assets of the organization. This includes the AC, the DC, and the RC. This already has given us a clue of what the answer would be. Original cost, which is known as AC, is the purchase price of the facilities that is used to ascertain the price to determine the asset value. Depreciating cost. This deals with the original cost of the asset and its value reduction over time. So let's say you buy an asset A at the rate of $60. Then after like 2 years that you've used the asset, what is the cost or the value of that asset worth in the market? Considering the fact that, okay, you buy a phone that is worth $60, then you're using that phone to make calls for a period of 2 years, and now you decided to sell that phone, and they're telling you that, okay, the phone is now worth $55. So in a span of 2 years, the depreciating cost of that phone is just $5. So it went from 60 to 55 in a span of 2 years. The replacement cost, on the other hand, is the actual cost incurred by an organization in replacing its asset. Let's say there is a cyber incident that destroyed the critical infrastructure of the organization, and now those critical infrastructures have to be replaced. What is the cost in replacing them? That is also known as what? The replacement cost. So having defined the whole options given, the correct answer to this question is all of the above. During asset evaluation, to estimate the monetary value of the various facilities of the bank, we need to determine the asset value, which comprises of the original cost of the asset, the depreciating cost of the asset, and the replacement cost of the asset. Moving on to the next question. What web application vulnerability attack targets internal systems which are not usually accessible from the outside network? Option A, SQL injection. Option B, CSRF. Option C, XSS. Option D, SSRF. Option E, all of the above. Option F, none of the above. Diving straight to define the options that were given. Option A, SQL injection, is an attack that focuses on injecting malicious payload or codes in manipulating the back end of database to access private information. So this involves the inserting of single quotes or various arbitrary comments to receive a response on the front end of the form or application that is being tested. CSRF, the vulnerability occurs when a malicious attacker can submit commands that tricks an authenticated user into performing an unwanted action on a web application. Basically, CSRF is cross-site request forgery. So when someone is authenticated, for instance, which is a general reference that is used in defining CSRF, cross-site request forgery, you log into your bank application and a malicious hacker decided to send you a link to initiate a transfer without your knowledge. The bank web application is vulnerable to CSRF. Upon clicking the link, the application will execute a transfer without your knowledge. The next is XSS. XSS allows malicious attacker to inject harmful codes in the web pages that are regularly visited by legitimate users. So basically, this codes might either be to compromise their systems or steal cookie sections and sensitive data from the targeted user. Server-side request forgery enables attacker to forge server requests. Due to this request originating internally, the SSRF vulnerability targets internal systems that are inaccessible from the outside network. So having defined these various options, the correct answer to this question is SSRF. If we go back to the question, it says the web application vulnerability that targets the internal system that is not accessible from the outside network. So the correct answer to this question is option D, which is server-side request forgery. Next question. You are the chief head cryptographer of Mass Bank. You are asked to develop a messaging app for internal communication. However, the bank is on a budget and wants you to implement an encryption that both encrypts and decrypts message faster. Which encryption mechanism best suits this project? Option A, asymmetric. Option B, symmetric. Option C, hashing. Option D, A and B. Option E, all of the above. Option F, none of the above. Defining the options given, asymmetric involves the use of a separate key for encryption and a different key for decryption. It costs a lot to implement this type of encryption mechanism. Symmetric, on the other hand, this type of encryption involves the use of the same key for encryption and decryption, resulting to the key being smaller compared to asymmetric and cost lesser. Hashing, on the other hand, is a one-way mechanism that involves the scrambling of a plain text into a unique digest using a sort mechanism, and the encrypted plain text cannot be decrypted. Referencing back to the question that we were asked, we have to develop a messaging app that both encrypts and decrypts a message. Also, we should consider the additional request made by the bank, which is decrypting the message faster. So, having defined the various options given, the right answer to this question is option B, symmetric. Because symmetric encryption involves the use of the same key for encryption and decryption, which has solved the problem of the cost. And also, the key being smaller makes encryption and decryption even faster compared to asymmetric. Question number 7. Which of the RAM size is the perfect RAM that will yield a very high performance in a computer system? Option A, 8 gigabytes. Option B, 80,000 megabytes. Option C, 800 million kilobytes. Option D, 128 gigabytes. Option E, all of the above. Option F, none of the above. Going back to the question, it says which RAM size is the perfect RAM that would yield a very high performance in a computer system. So this has to do with a mathematical computation or calculation. Finding the mathematical computations, 1000 kilobytes is equals to 1 MB, 1 million kilobytes is equals to 1 gigabytes, and 1000 MB is equals to 1 gigabyte. From the question, 8 gigabytes is already there. 80,000 megabytes is equals to 80 gigabytes. So that defeats option A. 800 million kilobytes. Dividing it by 1 million kilobytes gives us 800 gigabytes. And option D is 128 gigabytes. So looking at the options given, the correct answer to this question is option C, 800 million kilobytes. So moving on to the next question, question number 8. Which of the following code describes the main function in C programming? A, echo. B, integer main, open bracket, close bracket. C, printf statement. D, put statement. E, all of the above. F, none of the above. Defining the options given, echo is used by PHP to print statement. Integer main, also known as integer main, open bracket, void, close bracket, or integer main, open bracket, close bracket, is the main function utilized by both C and C++ programming. Printf is used to print formatted output in C programming. And puts is a built-in method that is used to display the output of a program in console. So going back to the question again, which of the following code describes the main function in C programming? The correct answer to this question is option B, integer main. Moving on to question 9. In Active Directory, there are two types of forest implementation. What are they? A, single and broad forest. B, single and double forest. C, single and additional forest. D, single and multiple forest. E, all of the above. F, none of the above. So to get this answer correctly, we have to define the two forest implementation in Active Directory. Single forest domain are used to partition the directory and manage the replication. The single forest domain is the default deployment mode in Active Directory. The next is multiple forest. It's a complex implementation process. Its cost of implementation is higher in comparison to the single forest and requires additional resources such as hardware, software, and maintenance. So having defined this option, the correct answer to this question is option D, single and multiple forest. Now we have come to an end of the final question of the day, which is question number 10. A family of yours was scammed of their money by their trusted friend. However, a few weeks later, they found out their friend has posted a new picture of themselves via Instagram. You being the tech guru in the family, he decided to contact you and gave you the picture posted by their untrusted friend to see if you can be able to identify his present location. What tool is best to carry out the forensic on the image? A, OSINT. B, IP2 location. C, latlong.net. D, aircrackng. E, all of the above. F, none of the above. So defining those terms, OSINT, known as Open Source Intelligence, is the collection analysis of data gathered from open sources. IP2 location is an online tool used in gathering information about a user's or target IP addresses. Latlong.net is a geolocation tool that is used to locate anyone across the globe by just providing their coordinates. AirCrackNG is a Wi-Fi cracking tool. Going back to the question again, we're provided with a picture of the culprit and we're asked to determine their location. So by default, the EXIF or metadata of an image contains the coordinates, the type of camera that the photo was shot, and other very important information. However, the IP of the location where the image was taken are not embedded in the image. So to be able to get the geolocation of the culprit, we have to get the coordinates from the image. And after we have gotten the coordinates from the image, we can now go to latlong.net, input these coordinates, and it's going to locate what part on the map those coordinates belong to. So having defined this various option, the correct answer to this question is option C, latlong.net. Let's move on to the trophy of today. If you scored 10 over 10, you won the gold trophy as the first prize. If you scored 8 over 10, you won the silver trophy as the second prize. And if you scored 7 over 10, you won the bronze medal as the third prize. And if you've been trying and you've never scored any of these options, it's okay. There's always room for improvement and better luck next time. So we have finally come to an end of today's episode. Please do not forget to give the likes by pressing the thumbs up button, subscribe by tapping that subscribe button while ensuring the notification bell is turned on to be the first to get notified when we post a new topic. Thanks for watching and see you next week on another episode of the Cybersecurity Q&A section with Fixitgearware Security. Bye.